sweetheart of the long ago. You're still my sweetheart and I love you so. My Dixie sweetheart, girl of the long ago. I bless the day we met. My Dixie sweetheart, oh how I love you so.
Around the clock, we're gonna rock to the rhythm of the street. Down the block, around the clock, we're gonna rock. The dreams you give, the streets could talk. Wanna be somebody, be a contender. Gotta reach for the sky. If you want it, fight for it, or kiss it goodbye. It's make it or break it. Try to survive. Don't ever say never. Keep your dream alive. Around the clock, we're gonna rock to the rhythm of the beat. Down the block.
I think it's a terrible decision to go this early in the morning. But here's the deal. Don't want to plan a show around this afternoon or tonight. So go ahead and get it out of the way. It's Friday the 13th week. And what better week to do a video about our top 50 moments? And by our, I mean mine. Blake's not here. He has a job. He's working. And like I said, this is easier for me to do it like this because then I don't have to edit it. I can just put it out there and everybody that watches it now can watch it now. And everybody that doesn't can watch it throughout the day, tomorrow, the next day. So for the people that join me, that's great. And for the ones that's not going to be here, that's great too. Let's see who's here. My boy, Jim Bob's here saying, let's go. My chunky Jordy's here saying hi, everyone. So here's the deal. This top 50 list is not going to be, let me go ahead and put it on the screen. Give me just a second. I have some videos too, but this top 50 moments is not like a number 50 to number 1 scenario because depending, I've talked about this like countless times on the show. Depending on whatever day you catch me, I may have a new favorite moment in the franchise. So what I really did last night is I sat down and I'm just doing the Paramount 8, by the way. I just went through each movie listing my favorite moments from that movie. Like I said, no order. We'll discuss them as we go. If you guys have some favorite moments, throw it in the chat. And we'll talk. We're live on Rumble, X, and YouTube right now. Hopefully these clips don't get us thrown off YouTube like Taco Tuesday last night. So without further ado, let's get rolling. Before we get rolling, there's a video that me and Blake may or may not put out in long form or short form talking about, and I think I talked about this last Friday before the show ended, like a 3-movie marathon. I know I sent out a tweet about it, a 3-movie Friday the 13th marathon. Like, what is the perfect 3-movie marathon and why? So there may be a video about that coming soon. May not, just letting you guys know. It's like something we've been thinking about. Anyway, let's get to it. Friday the 13th, top 50 moments, starting with part 1. Crazy Ralph. And what do I mean by Crazy Ralph? The first time we see Crazy Ralph, he comes out of nowhere to tell Annie that you're going to Camp Blood, ain't ya? And he is so creepy, and he's the messenger of doom. He's ugly. He's old. He looks like he's drunk, which we never figure out. I know they say that his wife says he's out and drunk, but is he really drunk or is he just crazy? So we get that scene to start the movie off. And then later on in the movie, he comes out of the pantry in another creepy scene. And just the look of him as he is backed out of the cabin, getting on his bike, looking at him, just a creepy looking guy, and rides off on his bicycle. At the time, we didn't know if he was the killer, if he was the one we should be afraid of, or what was going on. And that's the last time we see him. But, and I brought it up earlier, Nick Push did a tweet where he said Crazy Ralph is one of the 5 most important characters in the franchise. And I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know if I disagree with that. I think that's a very good question. And I'd love to see Nick do a show about that and give his reasons why he thinks Crazy Ralph is one of the most important characters. But just seeing this guy, this creepy, weird guy, is one of my favorite moments. And it sort of like sets the tone of what this movie is going to be. Let's see. Jim Bob's chiming in on the best Friday the 13th 3-movie marathon list. He says part 2, 3, and 4, which would make perfect sense because all of those leapfrog right after each other, chronological order happening right after the other, picking up where the other one left off. That's a good one. Bud's here. Everybody make sure you check out Bud on the Shape of Horror podcast tonight. He's going live. I think it's live, right, Bud? And put the time in the chat if you want to, Bud. He's back for the first time in forever. I'm excited. Blake's excited. Everybody's excited that Bud's back. I'll be there to watch unless I'm doing something else. Can't wait to see what he's got on tap tonight. And he's talking Friday the 13th as well. Allie's here saying a daytime ATGNAT episode. I'll take it. And Bud says he's live at 9 Eastern. That would be 8 Central. My boy Jordan Moran in the chat saying a live I can make. Jordan, I think you were the last one to see Taco Tuesday before they pulled it off the air. Here we go, guys. Moving on to moment number 2. Annie getting her throat slit. This was the first, well, I shouldn't say first because you got Psycho. This is one of the few horror movies that you're introduced to a character that you think might be the main character, and the person gets killed right off the bat. Annie is the one who wanders into this town. She wanders into the diner where everybody looks at her like Pee-wee's Big Adventure when she says she's going to Camp Crystal Lake. She gets warned by Crazy Ralph. She gets warned by the truck driver. She gets dropped off. And then she's picked up by somebody in a Jeep sort of like what Steve Christie drives, and immediately realizes something's wrong, jumps out, almost breaks her skull open on a rock, is chased throughout the woods, and her throat is slit in a very gory, nasty scene. So that, I mean, you can't have a list of Friday the 13th top moments and not have Annie getting her throat slit by the tree on there. All right, moving on. Next one. I wonder how long this was going to take. Jordan saying, my morning coffee and Taco Tuesday match made in heaven. We had fun last night on Taco Tuesday, guys. Obviously, it's not on YouTube anymore, but if you want to go check it out, it's over at Rumble. We are now 3 for our last 3 hitting tacos during these spaghetti westerns. Next, Ned seeing Pamela. There's a scene where, and Ned gets way too much hate because he's the least annoying of the comedy characters that are throughout the series. And he wanders off after he realizes he's not going to wrestle that gal from Kevin Bacon. And he sees something moving on the porch, and we later know he sees Pamela, and it's a creepy scene because who is that? What is that is a question. At the time, we didn't know if it was like something supernatural. So let me see if I can pull up the video. And like I said, this may be get us pulled off of YouTube. But if we do get pulled off YouTube, just jump on X or Rumble. All right. So this is Ned seeing Pamela.
Hello?
It's gonna be real quick. There you go. You see that? One more time. Look in the top right.
Hello?
You see the shoulder turn and her go in. Obviously, he follows her out. He follows her. He follows her into the building. We don't see him ever again until there's a sex scene, and he's dead on top of the bunk beds. But very creepy. Just knowing that Pamela is not only in the bushes, because we see the first person shots of her looking while they're in the lake, but she's also just walking around the campgrounds, inside the cabins, watching everything that's going on. Very, very creepy. Leads to his doom. Let's see. Allie says she's drinking coffee right now. And Bud says he's not nearly as annoying because he's barely around. Or is it because he's barely around? Could be. I mean, the scenes with the cop are kind of cringe, but also, that's the way dummies act. Moving on. The Kevin Bacon death. This makes everybody's favorite Friday the 13th moments. We can talk ad nauseum about how do you get a arrow standing up straight under that little bitty bed. But it's a great kill. It's great gore. And it's shocking. I mean, shocking. All right, Jordan, you say you have tickets this Friday at the cinema for Friday the 13th? Let me know. Next one is the reveal of Pamela Voorhees. I know there are a lot of people that say Friday the 13th is a whodunit, but we never get to meet the whodunit person to the very end, so it's not a very good whodunit. I look at it like this, and I'll go the Vinny route is, we get told about a ghost story the whole time. The town sees it as a haunted place. The kids don't really know about it, but the audience learns about it really quickly. Ralph setting the mood, and then at the very end, after all these people are being found dead, this woman pulls up and to die. We know that's the killer at that point, and we learn why she's doing what she's doing. Her son drowned. She blamed the counselors. She killed the counselors. And now she's killing anybody that comes back to this campground to try to get this camp started back up, because she blames it all on losing her son. And obviously, somewhere along the line, losing her son maybe made her had a psychotic break, or maybe she had the psychotic break before. Maybe she was crazy before she had Jason. Those are all, I'm sure, wonderful stories that'll be told in the Crystal Lake series. But yeah, Pamela showing up is one of my top moments in this. And plus, like, it's an older woman. She's not overpowering, even though she does throw a body through a window. It's tough to explain that. But Alice sort of, has her way with her as far as fighting. I mean, it's not like Voorhees is, overpowering with Alice. Alice like beats her up, runs to another room, beats her up, runs to another room, beats her up, and then cuts her head off. Hey, Jason, what's going on, man? Y'all check out Backtrack Cinema. Jason's a good dude with a good channel. Jordan says the OG Friday the 13th, you're going to get to see it in theaters. I guess I need to check around here to see if there's any theaters doing that. They usually don't do that. Usually we have to drive at least an hour and a half to the coast or an hour and a half north to find theaters that do the special screenings like that. So Bud says Betsy Palmer didn't waste 1 second in her limited time on screen. I would agree with that. She totally carved up the scenery in every frame that she was in. She she was good. She played a good crazy person. I can see where she plays a good old woman. If you've ever seen her in Charles in Charge, she plays Buddy Limbeck's grandma. She's good in that too. Jordan said, or Jim Bob says, the way she talks to herself in Jason's voice is awesome. Yeah, that's where the whole just very, very insane. And you got to wonder when she's by herself if that crazy stuff goes on too. Those are the questions that we ask, when we're watching these horror movies. Let's see. Moving on. The beheading scene. Of course, the movie ends with Alice getting a running start, chopping her head off with a machete. And we get this great scene right here where there's no head, good gore from Savini. And that's how the first movie ends. Or so we thought. I thought about doing like a cut of Jason face reveals, because my last one from Friday the 13th is in fact the reveal of Jason. Alice is out in the boat. We get the dramatic music, and then boom, here's Jason screaming, pulling her under the water. Is that real? Alice wakes up, cops all around her, doctors around her. Could have been a dream. What's going on? And that would be a staple of the Friday the 13th movies for the next 2 or 3 movies, is the big whiteout. But look at that egghead right there. That's hard R, boys and girls watching. Hard R right there. And I don't know. In the chat real quick, what's the more surprising ending? The shock ending, I mean. Carrie or Friday the 13th? Because Friday the 13th borrowed it, stole it from Carrie. So, but it also gave us something to talk about. Is Jason still alive? What's going on? Who knows? Let's see. Jim Bob says, I think she's crazy enough to play Uno by herself. Jordan says, I'm 30-minute train to city double bill with gory Scottish samurai movie called Tornado with Tim Roth. Yes, you read that. Tornado. If it's a samurai movie, Tim would want to watch that. We'll have to get that going. Now, moving on to part 2. Favorite moments, Alice getting killed. So she is the final girl throughout the first movie, obviously. In the second movie, she's gone within 8 minutes. Now, hold on one second, guys. 1 second, Blake. Hey, Blake.
Hey there.
What are you doing?
I'm working. What are you doing?
Playing around on the internet. Have I missed anything so far, or have you not seen anything so far? Are you going to wreck? What's going on here?
I hadn't seen anything so far. What are you doing on the internet? Rotten.com?
Yeah, rotten.com.
Looking at JFK's head?
No, the jar of jelly and the potatoes.
Yeah.
You reckon anybody gets
Going
that
to
reference?
E-Bomb's World? No.
Not going to E-Bomb's World. Talking 50 favorite moments from Friday the 13th.
Oh, good deal. You want me to start at the top?
Well, I started with part 1 and going to work to part 8. What's your top moment in the franchise forever?
Tent scene.
From Jason in Hell?
Yeah.
Well, that didn't make the list for me, so that's good. So that's number 1, or just the most? That's your number 1.
That's all 50.
50 tent scenes over and over and over.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? You just stopping in to say hey, or are you here for a minute?
Yeah, I'm just stopping in to say hey.
Oh. Bud says right here that Mrs. Voorhees wasn't in part. Wait, Alice wasn't in part 2 because she overplayed her hand in contract negotiations. Is that true, Blake? Because I listed as one of my top moments, Alice getting
Yeah,
killed.
I buy that over the fake stalker story.
You know. All right, Blake, you got great signal. Get him out of there. Anyway, Blake said he buys what Bud's saying over fake stalker. I can't imagine anybody wants to stalk her, but who knows? There's a lot of crazy people out there. But she gets killed at the very beginning. Sees Mrs. Voorhees' head in the refrigerator, which means Jason came back and got the head, which means the head was already gone by the time the police got there. Did anybody even ask where the head was? Or did Jason steal it out of the morgue? Or did Jason dig her dead body up and just take the head? Now, that don't make any sense, because if he's going to dig her whole dead body up, he would take the whole body back to the shack with her. So he would have had to stolen the head between the time of Alice getting in the boat and the cops getting there. But then the question is, where's the head? Where's the head, baby? So I don't know. That's a show. Jim Bob says little fridge head. So when did he get his hands on the head? Anyway, it's shocking to see the final girl go down in the first 8 minutes of the sequel, and it set the tone that we're going to look at something new. There's going to be new people. And yeah, that's a big moment. Moving on. Probably, if you had to ask me, Ronnie, what is the number one scene for you in the Friday the 13th franchise? I would have to say Paul telling the campfire story. Now, if you ask me today on June the 11th, if you ask me today, what is the most famous scene? I would say this. It may change tomorrow, because you could play this scene if they remade Friday the 13th. Excuse me. If they did a Friday the 13th sequel, and
Dude,
just a straight sequel, and made it right now, no reboot, you could play this scene at the beginning of that movie, and it sets up the sequel perfectly. You don't need a reboot. You just play this scene right here, and Paul tells us everything we need to know in creepy fashion. How Jason drowned as a little boy. The mother blamed the counselors. She came back and killed a bunch of counselors. She was beheaded. Some say Jason was in the woods and saw that. He's been living in the woods since he supposedly drowned. But you put this scene in front of any sequel, not reboot, but sequel, and it works, because it tells the audience exactly what they're about to watch. They're about to watch a movie about Jason Voorhees, who patrols Crystal Lake, and this is why he does what he does. Amazing scene. Maybe the best in the when you think about Friday the 13th, you think about the campfire scene. In the chat, real quick, when you think about Friday the 13th, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Let's see how many different answers we get. But yeah, this scene with Paul, pretty much he does it as an icebreaker because he knows the counselors are talking. This camp is right next to Camp Crystal Lake, where all the murders took place. It's fenced off with one strand of barbed wire that they can easily step over. And he just wants to get it out there and get it over with, that some crazy stuff happened, and it's a ghost story. Let's see. Jason Drawn's here saying, "Morning, Bubba. I'm working on bacon and sausage. The perfect breakfast. Coffee's over there. Got some apple pie, tasting Keurigs after bacon, pancake time." Apparently, Jason is eating one hell of a breakfast. In the chat, what is the ideal breakfast for you? Now, he named bacon and sausage. You got to have a lot of money to have bacon and sausage every morning. Top breakfast right now: scrambled eggs, grits, sausage or bacon, toast, butter in the middle. Boom. Let's go. Nick Push is here. Nick Push's Hard Channel. Nick Push did a video called The Top Moments from Friday the 13th. I saw his video. I immediately wanted to steal his idea, though I did text him and say, hey, can I steal your idea? He said no. I made the video anyway, so go check out Nick's video on his top moments from Friday the 13th. Allie's asking, were the purple crown things? As far as I know, Allie, they do things now where they crown a king of the chat. Whoever's posting the most earns points or whatever. I don't know exactly what's going on. Jordan says chorizo, eggs, and hash browns with coffee. Hash browns, definitely top 5 food for breakfast. I love hash browns, all the different kind of hash browns. They're great. Last night, Jordan, you'll love this. On the stovetop, I put some ground sausage, onions, and mixed hash browns all together, put it in a big bowl. Been eating out of it ever since. Jim Bob says pancakes with peanut butter and syrup. I'm going to have to get out of here in a minute and go make my daughter some pancakes. But pancakes with peanut butter and syrup, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. So let's keep moving. Next moment. Now, this is a creepy one. The first time we see Jason hopping across the road. Now, the deputy shows up. He tells Paul, hey, keep your crew away from that over there. I know you're doing a good thing here, training up counselors. How's that a good thing? But as he's leaving, there's a couple of things you notice. One, the road is only big enough for one car, which is crazy. And two, you get the quick shoo of Jason jumping across the road. Now, I do have a video of this, so give me just a second, and I will pull it up. Found it. Here we go. I'll play it twice because it's going to join it in progress first. Look at, that's freaking awesome, guys. This is a scary scene because when you see a cop, you think cops are safe because they're tough. They have guns. Did Jason do this on purpose, or is he like Mose from The Office where he's just constantly running places and he runs across the road like a deer? Or does he do this to lure the cop to his shack so he can kill him, so he knows no cops will be coming around so he can take care of business, which wouldn't make a lot of sense because if this one deputy disappears, then the other deputies are going to want to know where he went. He told the other deputies he was going out to the lake to talk to Paul, then they're going to come talk to Paul, so it may ruin Jason's plan. We'll watch it one more time. It's awesome. I'm just telling y'all. That is a great scene. Creepy, bag over his head. Just, all right, here we go. So, moving on. All right. Jim Bob says his ass may be dumb, but he ain't no ass. All right, moving on. All right, seeing Jason's shack for the first time. May not make your top 50 moments, but knowing that Jason took the time to either build this out of stuff that he found, or maybe there was some old hermit living out in the woods and he killed that hermit and took over the shack. Maybe this was sort of like a hunting shed or something out there. But just knowing he fastened all this stuff together. And I guess you could say he may have got some of this stuff from they talked about the fires at Crystal Lake. Maybe Steve Christie threw, as he's making his repairs, made a big burn pile or materials. And Jason come and stole the wood and he found areas where they had tin and put this thing together. The window, I can't explain. But just knowing there at any moment you could walk up onto a shack like this and a horrible, deranged psycho killer may be in it. Super creepy to me, and that made my list. Moving on, the death of Crazy Ralph. Maybe premature, way premature. But Crazy Ralph, definitely a mistake because I'll talk about it here in a second. They immediately try to replace him throughout the series, with the exception of part 4. Just and the way he goes out is so nonchalant. Like, he's there being a pervert, watching Paul and Jenny, and then all of a sudden Jason strangles him with barbed wire around a tree. It seems like Jason would have done that a lot sooner than now, because apparently, if what you believe from major fans, he's always out at Crystal Lake. So I don't know. It just seems like while it's a good scene, I put it on my list because boom, that's Ralph's big finale right there. Holla at you, player. Jim Bob says that Shaq looked better than his first apartment. It looked better than all of our first apartments. Moving on. Mark's death. Me and Blake have made jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes and jokes about Mark, but he does have one of the best deaths in the franchise, because you see somebody that's disabled, you think he's safe. Just like usually pregnancy and a disability would mean you're safe in a horror movie. But, if anything, he proves that he's more capable of a lot of people in part 2. They constantly show him arm wrestling, showing his strength and things like that. And he's actually going to get a girl, but he's sitting on the porch, and all of a sudden, boom, out of nowhere, machete right through the face. And you get the great scene of the chair falling down the steps to the whiteout. Boom. So number 81, Mark Jarvis, believe it or not, because they're not very creative with the names in this franchise, is his death it made my list. I believe it makes everybody's list. Every Friday the 13th fan is going to have the wheelchair guy's death on the list. All right. Allie says Jason should start a business, I guess, because he built a shed. When you're homicidal and Tard Strong, everyone can get it. That is possibly the best tagline to a movie that hasn't been made yet. When you're when you're homicidal and Tard Strong, anybody can get it. Moving on. We got 50 of these. Okay. So earlier I said that Paul around the campfire is what I think is the top moment for me in the Friday the 13th franchise. This scene right here, where the girl that was thirsty for Mark the entire movie goes upstairs, and Jason comes out from underneath the covers of the bed. Now, obviously, we made the joke when we watched the movie. How long would he have laid there if she didn't go in the room? But him popping up and us seeing the bag and the one eye hole, and him slicing her leg and then slowly walking up to her with the knife up while she just stands there like an idiot. That could be a rival, depending on what day you catch me, for the best moment in the franchise. The reveal of Baghead Jason, the reveal of what's been watching these kids the entirety of the movie. So, and Jordan Moran says, I'm guessing he's talking about Mark is the favorite death in the franchise, because I wouldn't assume that he's talking about this right here. So Michael Myers in the chat and saying she perfumed her lady garden. It only makes it weird as if it burned, Michael. So, okay, I got this one as an overall, and you'll see this in again. We're talking about part 3, but all right. So, the Jenny chase scene. Paul tries to fight Jason. He goes down in the dark room. Paul, there's somebody in this room. It's a great chase scene. When you think about chase scenes in horror movies, you think about Jenny and Jason from Friday the 13th Part 2. She is running everywhere. She's hiding. She's one of the few people throughout the franchise where there's a scene in particular where Jason's running and she's hiding behind a tree. So she's using her intelligence. She's not using just like hysterical a mindset of I got to run. She's actually trying to outsmart him because earlier in the movie, she's talking about, a frightened retard out in the woods, just wanting his mom and stuff like that. She uses her psychological classes, her degree, if you will, to try to outsmart Jason, and leading up to the very end. Now, you throw in the fact that she pissed all over herself when a rat walks out in front of her right here, and Jason sees the puddle of pee. That kind of throws a damper in what I just said about she uses her intelligence. I mean, I would probably piss my pants with Jason chasing me first rather than a little rat. If a rat had bit her or something. But yeah, the whole chase scene of Jason trying to get to her and her trying to get away is one of the best parts of the movie. And I've got Jenny killing Jason as a top moment as well, because we talked about her trying to outsmart him. She puts on Mrs. Voorhees' sweater. Also, let's think about this real quick. A lot of hand movements. The cops get there. What's up, Eli? Happy Wednesday. The cops get there, and Mrs. Voorhees' head is missing, and Mrs. Voorhees' sweater is missing, which means you had a topless, dead Mrs. Voorhees' body on the bank of the lake with no head. The cops will be asking questions. Where'd her sweater go? That's instead of saying there ain't no boy in the lake, they've been saying, where's the sweater? Where's the head? Where's the head at, baby? That's what they've been talking about. But yeah, she outsmarts him. She puts Voorhees' Pamela sweater on, and she gives one of the biggest freaking swings of a machete in the franchise, halfway down through his shoulder. Put it this way: halfway down through his shoulder, that arm is done, which leads to the novelization of Friday the 13th Part 3 saying he's resting up in a barn, recovering from his injuries. It's because of this injury. Freaking brutal. Brutal. All right, moving on. Last one from Part 2, another Jason face reveal. Now, right here, I mean, obviously, I'm no doctor. I'm talking on YouTube at 10 a.m. Central Time. But we got a little protrusion right there from the forehead. Maybe another head like Quado from Total Recall. So you've got, I've always said he looks like Bob Maluga from Big Man on Campus. You can see that if you've seen that movie. Very gross, very scary, screaming like a wild man. Great whiteout, and of course leads to the debate of what really happened at the end of Part 2. Who really lived? When did the dream sequence start? We talked about that when we watched the 35 millimeter cut on Rumble the other day. Is at what point does the dream sequence start at the end of Friday the 13th Part 2? Hey, Chief, we got a dead body, miss. And Jim Pop says, Sloth loves Chunk. Can you imagine this, guys? I'm glad you brought up Goonies. No family is going to let the child choose to bring home a 6'6" mongoloid that's deformed. You can come live with us now. This family been like, no, he's not. We got to wipe him. We got to clean up. We don't know what he's going to be humping. That might be the most unrealistic part of the Goonies, is thinking that family was going to let him come home with them. That ain't happened. Moving on. I think we're on like moment 18 right now. Part 3 picks up, guys, and this is a very creepy, scary moment. Edna, or whatever her name is, looks out the window and sees this right here, standing in between the clotheslines. Jason still wearing the overalls, still wearing the shirt possibly from Part 2. And he's getting new clothes. Very, very scary. Leads to a great scene where she bites it and Harold bites it in the shitter. Just a real good opening, and it's creepy. And I'm going to get to Jason in part 3 because I think it might be one of the better versions of Jason, and not because of the stereotypical, hey, this actor played it, he did great, blah, blah, blah. I think it might be the best Jason for a different reason. Jordan says, I absolutely told people the actor that played Jason in part 3 was Sloth from the Goonies. And he says, even scarier, Jason looks and sees Edna, which Blake will tell you. Blake will argue that Edna is good looking and they dressed her down. I don't believe him. You guys want to hit that like button, share it with people that we're out here talking. We got a few more to go. Hockett store. Ronnie, what the hell are you talking about? See, I told you guys Blake said that. Ronnie, what the hell are you talking about? How could Hockett store be in your top 50 moments? Real simple. There's a scene where they're all in the van and they ride by Hockett's store and they see the cops loading up Edna and Harold's dead bodies. It doesn't get any creepier than that, guys. Well, it does, but it's here in a minute. I'll tell you when it does get creepier. But that's this bunch in this van is setting the tone for what they're going to experience for the rest of the movie. Dead bodies everywhere. All right, Jason says, Jason busting through the door is often what I think of from New Beginning, I think. Bacon grease. What are you talking about? I'm pretty sure Jace woke up this morning and smoked some wacky tobacco and then started posting. He's saying Jason busting through the door is often what he thinks of from New Beginning, part 5, he thinks. Bacon grease is awesome for pancakes. Yes, it is. My midlife crisis, I make pancakes. Dolly Parton pancakes are the best brand. Fun fact, my wife loves her some Dolly Parton. Michael Myers said, would rather go naked than wear Harold's clothes, even laundered ones. I don't know. It's a pretty good little outfit that Jason puts on. Jim Bob, without the rollers, Edna looks like Audrey Plaza done up. I doubt that. So Hockett store made my list. And I'm also tinkering with the idea of doing another one of these lists, but the dumbest things in Friday the 13th. I mean, this is a Friday the 13th week. This is the only Friday the 13th week we get. So this channel in particular needs to pump out as much Friday the 13th content as we can, considering like 3 weekends a month, we dedicate a Friday to talking Friday the 13th. I don't know of another channel that does that. I'm sure there's an all Friday the 13th channel out there somewhere. I just don't look around enough to find it. So Hockett's made the list. Jason stalking. So earlier I said that this is one of the better versions of Jason. And it's not because of the actor who played Jason. It's because they have Jason stalking throughout the entirety of this movie. So many scenes where Jason's just standing there and the camera's over his shoulder and you can see him watching the people arriving at Higgins Haven. You constantly see the barn door opening and closing, like characters are noticing that. And it's just, and I know what you're going to say, Ronnie. He was stalking all throughout part 2. You see the hand over the bush or the branch as he's looking, just like with Mrs. Voorhees in part 1. This one's kind of different. It hit kind of different because you actually see him in the frame. And you know he's there watching. You know he's in the barn. Everybody that goes into the barn gets killed, which the joke has been made 1,000 times that the name of this movie should have been called The Barn because somebody goes into the barn and they get killed. Well, I guess it would make a really great horror movie today if like a group of friends go to a cabin or a vacation house and it has a barn and some local psycho is in the barn and kills them off one by one. I think you could do that and pay homage to Jason, to Friday the 13th part 3. But yeah, Jason stalking throughout part 3. I know it's like a continuous amount of moments, but it's one of my top moments of the franchise. Joshua says that my number one moment is when the original Friday the 13th movie's over. So I'm guessing he's not a fan. Michael Myers says they got damn good They got damn good mileage out of this barn. Yes, they did. Mitch is here saying, finally made it. You guys go check out Never Watch Alone over on Rumble. That's Mitch's channel. They got a lot of good content there. I actually watched his Superman thing either yesterday or the day before. Blake says instead of clown in a cornfield, we got clown in a barn, which would be scary. And Jim Bob says now they go to Planned Parenthood. I don't even know what he's talking about. So moving on to the next moments is Abel. Now, this probably could make my stupidest moments too, and it might if I do another one of these lists. Creepy. How many bums are out there around Crystal Lake? How many almost said homos. How many homeless weirdos are living in the woods? Is Jason interacting with all of them? This whole thing, even though it seemed forced because we need a new Crazy Ralph, it makes my moments because everybody's like, oh, he's got an eyeball. I mean, it's a good part of the movie. It won't make anybody else's list, but it makes mine. He gave me other parts of the body. I don't really know what that means, but moving on. Nick Push loves this scene. Nick Push, who earlier had to tell us he was in a boardroom meeting. But Jason getting the mask for the first time. There's no more stalking at this point. Jason just wanders right onto that dock, points at spear gun at Vera, shoots her in the face, drops it, walks off, looks up, sees lights on in the cabin, and heads straight for the cabin. Iconic scene. This is what people think of when they think of Friday the 13th. They think of Hockey Mask Jason. When other movies in the 80s and the 90s would want to reference Jason or horror movies in general, they'd put a hockey mask on their killer. I remember, I don't know if it was a hockey mask, but in One Crazy Summer, there's a scene where he goes to the drive-in with that chick, and up on the screen, the guy's like, I knew you was messing with my girlfriend. And he's got like a chainsaw and he's fat, but I don't think he's got a hockey mask on. Anyway, real quick, I'm trying to balance this between Murphy's Law with Charles Bronson, use the Higgins Haven barn. Is it Murphy's Romance? Which movie has James Garner and Sally Field? Murphy's Romance? They actually are watching Friday the 13th in that movie. Jason and the Spear Gun in the okay. Blake says iconic. Michael Myers says iconic. I don't know what that means. Jordan Moran, he doesn't have to adjust the pillowcase to stop him running into trees anymore. Good point. Which we brought up a great theory. Murphy's Romance. Thanks, Jim Bob. Murphy's Romance. They're watching Friday the 13th in that. When we were watching Friday the 13th Part 2 on Rumble the other day, they watched Part 3 at a theater. Okay. We were watching Part 2 on Rumble the other day. I think it was me and Mitch. We were talking about it. Him laying in the bed, is that when he got the pillowcase on his head? But if we didn't have the scene of him running across the road, you could make the argument, because if you pause it, you see that he's got a bag on his head. You could make the argument that he didn't get his pillowcase until he laid down in that bed for the first time. But they ruined that. Moving on. Jason getting his mask. Definitely a top moment. Okay. I think I have this scene. But the scene where Chuck is trying to fix the power and the lights pop on and Jason is behind him. And then obviously Jason's going to kill him. I think that's one of the creepier, scarier moments, top moments in this franchise. Let me see if, in fact, I do have that. Yes, Chuck's death scene right here. And I'll play it multiple times, guys. I mean, that's awesome. He cuts the scene. He cuts the light on, and Jason's been behind him the whole time in there.
That's better.
Now, we can argue all we want about why is it that sensitive, that fuse box that sensitive that could electrocute you, and why didn't it electrocute him when he was messing with it? But the fact that the lights cut on and the monster's behind you, you know, the whole feeling of there's always something out there in the dark. Very, very scary. Very, very scary. Okay. Scroll up because I missed some stuff. Michael Myers says, just the barn location in Murphy's Law. Bronson crashes a helicopter through it. The murder of Tommy Chong. This guy was like 24. I know I argued forever this guy was 50. But it was the 80s. In the 80s, somebody could look 90 and be 16. It was crazy. Jim Bob says this is an awesome scene. Jim Bob also said Chili had something there too. Good Lord. Moving on. Our next one. I got another computer over here, by the way. If you're wondering why I'm looking there and not here, it's easier to do. Like, I guess I should set it up like a professional YouTuber and have like something right here and right here. So I'm constantly making eye contact with you guys, but it'll be okay. So the hand walker, Scott Baio, Andy's death, the walking around on his hands, the annoying yo-yoing guy throughout the movie. He's got the pregnant girlfriend. He decides he's going to walk on his hands to go get a beer. And there's Jason splitting him in half. Now, we could go into detail and we could pick this movie apart and say, hey, where's all the blood? There's a body hanging above there's a body hanging above, what do you call those things that hang? A hammock. There's a body hanging above the hammock. The hammock would have been covered in blood. How does this work? How do you keep the blood from dripping? Dude, you can't think about stuff like that when you're watching a horror movie. All you need to know is this dude got split doing that stupid handstand, and then he stacked him up in the ceiling right above his girlfriend. Great scene, great kill. Another thing that could always be played before any modern sequel to show the brutality of Jason. Mitch says a horror film called The Contortionist. Jim Bob says top 10 kill, handstand kill. I agree. Moving on, guys. This should be like number 26 in the list. I'm on slide 27. So it's got to be 26. So that was the halfway point, the handstand kill. Some of you guys are going to go, Rick's kill was extremely stupid because he grabs Rick by the head and he squeezes it and his eye pops out for the 3D effect. I'm not going to go the 3D eye effect, even though it doesn't bother me. But when Chris is looking for Rick, Rick says, I'm going to step outside for a second. And then we never see Rick again until this. Chris peeks out and is yelling for Rick. Jason has this, and Rick, earlier in the movie, they established he's a pretty big, pretty strong guy. So he's got Jason's got Rick, arms behind his back, hand over his mouth. The wind is blowing, the storm's rolling in, and there's nothing Rick can do about it. And it's so creepy as a person watching a horror movie to know there's the girl. She's looking for safety with her pseudo boyfriend or friend, and the safety is over to the side of the house being murdered. And there's nothing the big strong guy can do about it because the monster is way stronger and way more vicious. So the whole Rick being pinned, can't speak before having his head crushed, made my top 50 moments. Mitch says this is a great we see what the character doesn't moment. I agree. Jim Bob said squeezed his melon like Andre the Giant. Absolutely. And Michael Myers says 80 years are like cat years. What does that mean? Explain that, Michael. I got to know what that means. Now, Blake's going to bring up a point that a lot of people have too. Sorry. He's going to ask, why is the monster being quiet about it at that point? Ask that question here in about 14 slides, Blake, because he spent, even though, and it may be a situation where he knows this is the girl he sexually assaulted and he wants to play around with her because he recognizes her. Maybe he doesn't recognize her. Maybe I just made that up out of necessity for my argument. But he wants to, and this is what Jason does. He takes it up until the remake anyway. He kills everybody off one at a time to leave one helpless person, or two if you watch part 4. So there's no valid reason, Blake, why the monster's being quiet about it. He's stronger than everybody. I guess he figures he can sneak up on them easier if he's in the shadows. Jason's being quiet because he's used to hiding from society. Mitch getting all philosophical. Next one. And I do have, I know you guys can't see what this is, so I'm going to play the video. But there's a scene where Chris gets into the van and she's driving out of Higgins Haven, whatever it is. And immediately there's Jason in the road and we get a great piece of score. And then he just jumps out of the way at the last second, which is like, okay, Jason doesn't want to get hit. He's smart enough to know not to get hit by the van. So he knows he's not, what's the word? Indestructible. Anyway, let me find the video and I'll play it. We're probably getting close to the end of YouTube allowing us to do this. Let's see. All right, there it is. I'll play it twice. I mean, that's awesome. Like Jason just appears. I mean, what's great about this is she's getting out of there. She's so smart. And then there he is. These are some of Blake's best scenes in movies too, where all of a sudden the headlights pick up something that was there that you couldn't see. So there, I mean, there's Jason. They hit the music here in a second, and she is like balls to the wall. She's not hitting the brakes like the idiots in part 6. She's going to run this dude over. And Jason dives out of the way. And if she hadn't ran out, did she run out of gas? Yes, she ran out of gas on the bridge, and then the bridge breaks. But if the bikers hadn't showed up and took all her gas, she's getting away right there. She's driving right to the police, and Jason goes off into the woods to disappear again. And we never get the events from part 4 because Jason would have just stayed on this side of the lake, or at least that's what I think would happen. Jim Bob says he likes hiding in the shadows. And Michael, okay, that's my bad, Mike. I'm slow. Michael says every cat year is like 3 human years, so everybody in the 80s aged like cats. Mitch says at this point in the story, Jason's not quite the undead revenant yet, and he can still be hurt and damaged. And Michael Myers says underrated final Friday girl. She gives it to him. Look, Chris, it might be the best final girl. I know everybody loves to say Jenny, but Chris brought more damage to a much bigger Jason than Jenny did to the skinny Jason. So very, very underrated. And then she goes crazy. So moving on, the Chris chase scene. I said the Jenny chase scene, but the Chris chase scene is also very good. It's what every horror movie aspires to have, a chase scene. It's like when people talk about Scream, they want to talk about where's the chase scene? Well, it's because of movies like this. It's because of Friday the 13th, perfecting the chase scene. She's all over the place. And not only is she running from him, she's hiding and then attacking him. She hits him and knocks him over with like a log or something like that. She pushes I want to say a bookshelf over onto him. She drops down from the top of the barn like a high cross body onto him. And then she wraps something around his neck and pushes him off the top of the barn, and then hits him in the head with an axe. We're supposed to cover all that. But she had a great her and Jason had a great chase scene that every horror movie aspires to do. So right here, like I said, she wrapped a rope around his neck, drops him. A brutal scene. All right. You could also show that scene if they made a modern sequel. This is what they did to try to stop Jason in the past. And boom, you see that scene where he just gets hanged and his neck should be broken. And then she opens the barn door and he's there like that. And he takes the mask off and reveals himself to her, saying, hey, I'm the guy that molested you from the woods, or the one at least you think molested you from the woods. And he smiles at her and pulls the mask back down, which, leads to the axe to the head. So I just knocked off another couple of moments there. We're up to like 30 top moments so far, but Chris hitting Jason in the head with an axe, him sticking his hands out like Frankenstein or a zombie, old school zombie or whatever, and her saying, you can't still be alive. Well, yeah, technically he could, because you just watched him break his neck in a brutal fashion and he survived it. So all those events leading up to the end of part 3 are great. Mitch says the only thing Chris didn't do was a Captain Kirk drop kick. And Michael Myers says Friday 7 girl gave it to him, but she had telekinesis. Yeah, you really can't, RIP, rip. But without the powers, she's dead immediately. Let's just face it. She's dead immediately. Tina from part 7. So now we're getting into these moments right here, and I have a video clip of this, but this has always been one of the creepiest scenes in the franchise. Part 4, the final chapter, they give you the recap of everything that's happened. It picks up with Jason dead in the barn, axe still in his head, paramedics there to collect all the dead bodies. They load Jason up in the hearse. They take him back to the morgue. And as they're pulling off, we see the last shot of Higgins Haven. And it goes dark, closing the chapter on that portion of Crystal Lake. And it's just creepy that all of that activity, and then all of a sudden, once the lights are gone, it's just like still and dark. So I have that. Give me just a second, and I will pull that up. Video file. Higgins Haven goes dark. Here we go. So here they all are pulling off. Helicopter there and everything. And now it's all gone. The scene, you can still see the outline of the barn and everything there. And now it's just dark and creepy. Everything's back silent, back to normal. So, underrated scene for me. And that's the reason it made my top 50 moments is Higgins Haven going dark at the beginning of Friday the 13th. Part 4. Obviously, we're into the final chapter now. It's one of everybody's favorite Friday the 13th movies. It's definitely up there for me. Jimbo's death is a top moment from this movie. There's a lot of stuff I've left out until this point. I'm just going with the scenes that make me just, scare me, creep me out, that have stuck in my mind. But Crispin Glover, Tad, where's the corkscrew? And then all of a sudden, corkscrew through his hand, holding him down to the countertop, and then boom, a butcher knife into his skull, killing him after he finally got a girl. That's the way the world works. Hold on, let me check out how many we got on Rumble. We got 5 on Rumble. All right, not bad. Moving on. This is one, and if you guys haven't figured it out by now, mine is a lot of creepy things. Not really just the necessarily violent things that happen, but creepy things. Rob is one of the major characters from part 4. Supposedly, you know, his sister is the one that was underage in part 2 and got stabbed with the would you call that a spear? Yeah, through the hammock. A lot of hammocks in Friday the 13th, but speared through, or was that a hammock or not a hammock? I don't know. Maybe it was a bed. Speared through the bed, and he's out and about looking for Jason. Now, you got to throw out the logic of his sister had only been killed for a couple of days, and he's collected all these newspaper clippings. He's collected all this data on maps where people have spotted Jason or whatever. Throw that out the window because he literally would have had like a few days, and just put what he's doing. He's hunting Jason. So that means he's got to have a little bit of courage, right? He's hunting Jason. He hears the guy that got shot in the D at the lake when he goes to his girlfriend that he cheated on because dancing with one of those ugly twins. And he goes out with his machete to look and leaves everything in his tent. When he comes back, he sees something in his tent moving around. So he slowly approaches it. He looks in. His rifle had been shattered. All his stuff had been tore up. Jason had found his tent and destroyed all his things. Very creepy. And it scared Rob. It scared him. And he stays scared for the remainder of the movie. But that is a very creepy scene when he comes around the corner and he sees a shadow in his tent. You know, and that leads to later on in the movie when Trish is hiding in the tent of him just slashing it open. I guess he thought if he slashed it open, Jason would come through the hole. Like Jason's scared of getting wet. I mean, but seriously, very, very creepy scene. Very, very creepy. Michael says, isn't this movie technically Sunday the 15th? You know, it could have been a couple of days, but yeah, I mean, technically. He says, yeah, hammock. So no idea how she didn't see Jason underneath because he come over the top, right? But hammock was part 3 and he went underneath it. I was talking about the underage girl from part 2 and the guy was on top of her. Mitch says part 4 is brilliant because it serves as the end of what I call the Jason trilogy, 2, 3, and 4. And as the beginning of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, which is 4, 5, and 6. I know it wasn't intentional, but it works. I've never heard of 2, 3, and 4 being called the Jason trilogy. You're the first person that I've heard say that, Mitch. That's pretty good. We've all heard 4, 5, and 6 of the Jarvis trilogy, but 2, 3, and 4 is the Jason trilogy. That's pretty good. Jim Bob said, when I was little, the he's killing me scene scared the shit out of me. Now it seems goofy, but as a kid, it was visceral and something I thought about long after the movie was over. You know, and they say that that scene was stolen from an actual crime that happened where some guy was being killed and he's screaming out for help saying he's killing me. When you think about something like that, it makes it a little more creepy or a little more scarier. But yeah, I got no problem with Paul. I got no problem with Rob's death. You know, he's killing me. I mean, you could also, yeah, we can make fun of it, and I will make fun of it. I mean, I have made fun of it. But you can also use it as he's telling Trish to run. He tells Trish to run, too. He's killing me. You better run. All right? So I think it's scary because you've seen this giant guy who we think, and that's the mistake we make as people who watch Friday the 13th. Is we make that mistake of thinking people can take Jason on just because they're big and burly and have muscles. And then when they're face to face with Jason, it's a Rick situation or it's a Rob situation, you know, or it's like the guy who was telling hold on guys, I'm watching a wasp or either a spider go up my window on the outside. I actually opened my window to get sunlight in here, and now I'm mesmerized by exactly what this wasp is trying to build. So you know what this means. When I get through with this live stream, I got to go and spray the window with Hornet spray, but this dude's doing work. All right, anyway. So, you know, we think because they have big muscles that they can go toe to toe, and really, you know, in the end, all it takes is a gal with a bucket of toxic waste to make Jason scream. Jamie says that the "he's killing me" scene is terrifying, in my opinion. Jim Bob says Tard strength is it's a whole different animal. Mitch says after part 6, this franchise was really just the further adventures of Jason Voorhees. The lack of connection between the films after 6 is a downgrade. Yeah, well, I think it really becomes a story of just different. I think they may have wanted to go the Tina route for a couple of movies, but I think once you have like a Jarvis character, you either got to stay with that Jarvis character or you just break completely from that format. I've got no problem with Jason after part 6 just being a series of movies where people encounter Jason and deal with him in their own way. I know a lot of people need to have coherent storylines throughout an entire franchise, and sometimes that just doesn't work, and sometimes it doesn't need to work. And when it comes to Friday the 13th, no matter how many channels are out there telling you we need backstory on characters, it needs to evolve, it really doesn't need to evolve. Because in reality, what is Friday the 13th? Friday the 13th is a cheap horror movie with great thrills and kills that makes everybody leave the theater happy. Okay? Let's don't make it anything that it doesn't have to be. And you could have pickup sequels in any decade, current or whatever, and it would work if you follow the format. They don't all have to be nudity head to toe. The remake overdid it with the nudity. Okay? I get it. But you don't have to do that. You can have a good horror movie and keep the lore of the movies that are already out there, and it's going to work. You don't need to know what made Pamela snap. You don't need to know that. All right? Do some people want to know that? Sure, go for it. All right? Then that's their opinion. Just like this is my opinion. I don't think a series is going to work because not enough people care. Okay? There's a reason why there's a huge drop off from week 1 to week 2 with these movies. It's because everybody that loves these movies, they go watch it week 1, they have their fun, boom, they're out of there. All right. The casuals, I don't see the Pamela Voorhees story bringing in casuals or creating a new fan base. All it's going to do is create more and more arguments when they cancel it after 6 episodes or whatever it's going to be. I'm off on another rant. The Wasp did stop me in my tracks, dude. It had a huge thing. I guess it's building its nest or something. One little bitty baby wasp, like pulling it all the way up the thing. It's gonna be sad here in a minute when I go spray it. But yeah, it got me. Michael says the UK VHS was censored, so we didn't get to hear him shout, "He's killing me," to 10 years later. Wow. Okay. So help me out with this, Mike. It's okay to watch Jason kill somebody with a claw hammer, but him screaming, "He's killing me," is too much? Make it make sense. Jamie says, Jason is a supernatural entity. How could a lowly mortal think they can hurt Jason? Well, you know, toxic waste. Michael says Friday the 13th series is pretty linear compared to the Halloweens. I mean, I would agree. I mean, Halloween is unique in the fact that they've broken the timeline so many different times. And I think it's actually worked. Now, if you don't know what's going on, sure, you can get confused. But if you know going into this movie, hey, this one's a direct sequel to the original. Okay, well, I've seen the original. I know not to count anything else until this movie. If you go into it and they say, okay, this movie only has part 1 and 2, and then we pick up with this movie. Okay, I can do that. I mean, all it takes is a little comprehension to be able to do that. Mitch says, to be clear, I'm not talking about making it Shakespeare. It can be a fun romp and still have a cohesive narrative. Look, I agree. No, I agree 100%. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. Michael says they cut down the claw hammer hits, so he's killing me. Just got kind of lost in the mix. You guys it's tough over there in the UK. Are they still that tough on the editing with newer movies, or are they just like everybody else? They just let anything go now? Answer that for me. We're barreling through this list, guys. The next is, once again, Ronnie got lazy, and for the third time in this list, he's going to list a lot of lists in that sentence. Trish versus Jason chase scenes. Trish doesn't get enough love either on the battles that she brought to Jason. The TV over the head. She chops his hand. He ain't using that hand again. Dove through a window, got up and walked home while Jason stalked her. So, once again, I'm going to say this, my opinion. I don't care if you agree with it or not. Friday the 13th is the premier franchise in chase scenes. They perfected it. They do it great. And this is another example of that. 2, 3, and 4 have great chase scenes where Jason chasing a different person. Blake says Jason laying there is funny. Mitch says the Trish stuff is awesome too. Yeah, and I think Trish she had already accepted the fact that she's going to die. That's the reason she had no problems diving through a window to try to get away from him. That's the reason she told Tommy, get out of here, run, run, run. I will head him off. She knew she was going to die. She's seen everything this monster had done throughout the movie. She knew she had no chance. But here at the end, here she is going, you SOB, I'm going to give you something to remember us by. All right? You may kill us, but you're going to remember us. You're going to remember the Jarvises. She's pretty right about that, too. And then, of course, the reveal of Jason's face and the death of Jason also made my list. Great kill right here. The head sliding down the machete is pretty cool. Right before this, when Tommy runs down the steps after he shaved his head because he found Rob's bag of newspaper clippings, and he figures, hey, I can like shave my head so I can look like him. I don't know what the plan was there. Was the plan that Tommy was going to try to confuse him, or was the plan for Tommy to look like him so that Jason wouldn't hurt him? I don't know if it's ever been discussed, because I doubt he shaved his head just to run down there for a 2-second distraction. He had a plan. It was, Jason, do you remember? I mean, and in the chat, help me out if you know exactly what was said in the movie. But the Jason walking up in the light with the mask on and turning his head a little bit to look, one of the best shots in the franchise. And the whole thing, the whole ending of part 4 is like super creepy because, we got a kid shaving his head. And then at the end of it, is he crazy from seeing all these people get killed? I mean, let's see. Mitch says the only chase scenes better than Friday the 13th are the Cannonball Run and the Blues Brothers. Michael says it's much better in the UK now than it used to be. Even Jason's machete death in 4 used to be cut. Mitch says machete head is great because of the animatronics to the face. Yeah, like the eyes are still moving. Jamie says it was a play on Jenny putting on the sweater. Yeah, I get that, but if we're gonna, I like to overthink some things at times. Like, what's the end game here? If he comes downstairs and Trish is dead and his head's just shaved, what's he doing? What's he doing? Tommy was trying to confuse Jason. I agree with that. Die. Tommy says, Michael says, Tommy shaving his head reminds me of De Niro in Taxi Driver. And Jim Bob says they should restart the series after the ending of part 4 with him returning as a ghost or zombie Jason. 1 through 4 sets everything up. Reboot it like Halloween after part 4. See, I'm in the camp where I think you never have to reboot it. And you're going to be like, Ronnie, well, you can just do standalone stories, movies. Well, yeah, you could do that, but you also could do, Vinny, he did his own little trilogy, branched off of part 6. I think you can go back and tell those stories that happened in between movies. That's what I wish the franchise was. Excuse me. That's what I wish the series was just a series of stories told in Crystal Lake. Maybe people that were camping that survived Jason, or were there camping when Jason was killing all these other people, witnessed it, and was able to escape. Things like that. But that's not what it's going to be. We're going to learn more about Pamela and all that. Thanks, by the way, to everybody that's been here this morning. We just got a few more to go. All right, part 5. Reggie the Reckless hitting Roy / Jason with the tractor. I've remembered this scene since I was a little kid. I think it's a great scene. It makes my top moments. It's a little kid, not paralyzed by fear, trying to save the day, and he pretty much takes care of Jason. It's not Tommy. I mean, what's Tommy do? Stab his hand so he falls off? I mean, before that, it's Reggie. Reggie hit him with a tractor, high cross body to knock him over before he kills Tommy. Great character, great scene right here. The music is great too, because you get that heroic music. You get Roy acting like Jason, or just like, is that a tractor? And is that a Red Hood on a tractor? So there you go. That makes my list. Michael says, I want to see Roy from part 5 story. Those harvester spikes could have missed the vital organs. I don't think it missed the brain, though. The brain! They could reboot it with Fever Dreams of Survivors. They very well could do that. Jamie says, I'm confused. Jason has always been a zombie. We've never seen him alive. Well, it depends on what you mean by zombie, Jason. Excuse me, Jamie. Zombies don't feel pain. Zombies don't feel pain. I know that because I've seen a lot of zombie movies. Even the movies that are comedies, the zombies still don't feel pain. And throughout this movie, he's getting kicked in the nuts in part 2. He's getting stabbed. Part 3 gets a knife to the knee. And it hurts in part 4, even though Vinny says he's dead at the beginning of part 4, because that's what Paul Zito or Barry Zito, whatever the guy's name that directed it, said. He said he's dead at the very beginning. Okay, then why is he hurt and why is he bleeding when he gets hit in the hand? I mean, if he's hurt, if he's already dead, he's not going to have any pain left. So I don't know. I mean, I think everybody's confused. All right, because it pretty much lends credence to the theory that Jason didn't drown. He just pulled up on the other side of the lake, and maybe he's too stupid to go find his mama, or maybe he didn't find his mama because she was abusing him. Who knows? I know people say, no, you can't do that. That's special boy. All right, whatever. Tommy's freaking useless in part 5. It's Reggie's moment. It's a total waste of Tommy Jarvis in part 5. You know, you're building to the fight between him and Jason. That's the reason we get to see him do the AA, the attitude adjustment, to that one goofball through the table. That's the reason we get to see him do the karate stuff to Tardo with the leather helmet. I mean, it's to set up a fight that never happens. Instead, he just thinks he's seeing a vision get slashed across the chest, and don't. And at the end, he stabs his hand. I mean, there's nothing there. All right. All right. So Jesse Vimero, welcome. The zombies in Return of the Dead eat brains because of the pain of being dead. The exception. The pain of being dead. Okay, so let's talk. I knew what you're talking about. Return of the Living Dead. Let's examine this for a second. All right, maybe like the metaphysical pain of being dead, but in that movie they get shot and they get cut up and it doesn't bother them. So they don't show like physical pain, but I get what you're saying. That's a good pull. Jamie says, I didn't call him a zombie. Someone else did. I'm just saying he's never been alive in any movie. He drowned before the first one. I always thought he was supernatural, like a wraith. Could be. And that's one of the things, that's one of the aspects that I like about the Never Hike Alone trilogy is Benny just turned it into a haunted lake. You know, that way now you don't have to explain it. Okay? Jason's supernatural. He patrols that particular area. Sort of like that episode of what's the American Horror Story where they did the 80s season. That was pretty good. And all the people, all the victims and the killer are stuck in that in that area because it's haunted. So I mean that's a great way to explain it. Michael says biggest thing Tommy does in 5 is body slam a random guy through a side table. Yeah, at breakfast. Moving on. The reveal of Roy. Now, me and Blake said when you first watch this, it looks like it's Matt down there. But the reveal of Roy and the fact that he took the time to put on a ball cap and, you know, dress up like Jason to kill everybody except the person who was responsible for the death of his son is pretty crazy. And I guess if we knew from back at the beginning of the series, did Pamela actually kill the counselors that were responsible for the death of her son? If she didn't, then this ties in brilliantly. If we know for a fact that Pamela did not kill the specific counselors that were not watching Jason, but has continued to kill counselors after that, then this makes perfect sense of what Roy's doing, because Roy's doing exactly what Pamela did. He's killing everybody in the area that his son died in and not the person that's responsible. Just anybody that's there gets blamed for what's going on. So anyway, that made my list. Into part 6 now, and the resurrection of Jason is just almost perfection. I mean, look at this body of crap here, and the whole opening of the casket and just the cobwebs or whatever it is in there, and you see this pathetic skeleton thing of something that's been dead for 10 years. And to think like Universal Monsters, a lightning strike makes it a big hulking Jason again. That whole first 5, 6, 7 minutes of that movie is really good because it sets the tone. We're back. Tommy's back. This is not a fake Jason. We're telling you it's not a fake Jason because we're showing you Jason's dead body and Jason's dead body coming back to life. So we're not trying to trick you here. So we're trying to heal the wounds from part 5, and we're trying to make it right again because people, you know, getting so upset about a copycat. I think it was like a brave choice to do that in part 5. But the beginning of part 6 is awesome. The lightning strike, and then Tommy running after, you know, letting Jason loose. He runs off because he knows he's screwed up. Friday 5 reveal looks a lot like Elliot Gould. Jesse says, think of how hard it is to get Jason attire for Halloween to look like him, and Roy just whips the mask and close up the copycat Jason. Nitpicking here. Yeah, the ball cap's a bit much. I mean, but I guess if Roy would have shaved his own head, then the cops would have known what was going on. Mitch says, I think Jason's cursed. He can be defeated, even killed, but he will always come back somehow. That's what's great about this series. Another thing I love about part 6, my favorite moments, the 50-foot drop down that Jason does right here in this scene, and then he beheads 3 paintballers. Really good scene. You got the geek that comes in after that. Actually, the geek was about to win the paintball game because he's going to sneak up on this ugly woman right here in the middle and these 2 gay wads, and he was going to shoot the woman, and everybody else has already been eliminated. So he was going to win. But instead, it's Jason standing there. He shoots Jason and thinking Jason's part of the game, and then takes off running. Great scene. And it's just fun. It's fun. Best shot of the whole, I guess you could argue, what is the best shot from Friday the 13th Part 6? Maybe in the whole franchise, the very beginning of it, that's a great shot when Jason turns around wearing the mask. This beats it because you got a monster on top of an RV that's on fire. Okay. Smoke in the background. Great shot from this movie. Top moments. He's hiding in the camper. I guess I should have went with the whole camper scene as my top moment that the campers were rocking. And what happens here is, you know, he kills the girl. He puts a knife through Cork's head. The RV flips, and then cool scene as the door just gets tossed off of this thing, and he stands up on top of it, standing triumphant over another couple of dead bodies, you know, that he's killed. Jamie says Friday 5 was my first Friday movie in the theater. Best time of my life in spite of being fake Jason. Michael says Jason's basically a ninja in Friday the 13th Part 6. He's like Kung Fu Jason. I mean, he's got everything. What if Roy stole Tommy's mask and bald Jason hood? I guess he could have. Friday 6 super fun. I love good parody. The Bond opening is amazing. Mitch says Part 6 is a great graphic novel brought to film kind of movie. I would agree with that. What you doing back there? Taking a dump? That dude's so lame. Okay, now I think this might be my last video shot, but this is one of the best scenes. Martin's walking home, the drunk cemetery caretaker. Why there needs to be a cemetery caretaker in that particular cemetery, I have no idea. But he's walking home drunk. Jason kills him. You got the guy from Seinfeld who's trying to audition to be George. He hears something. He runs over there. Jason is hacking away at Martin, just knowing that Jason stabbing him in the neck with a broken liquor bottle is not enough. I'm going to chop him up out here in the woods. And how long would he have chopped him if he hadn't seen the guy over there? Think about that. So I've got one more video clip. We're going to play that because this is just like, yeah, Jason sees pervert video. Boom. My luck that you try to sneak up and the guy spots you. That's just awesome. That is awesome on so many levels. I know Court's Lady Travolta in real life. I can't see it. Yeah, his mom, I'm guessing it's Court's mom, plays Charles in Charge's mother plays Scott Baio's mother in Charles in Charge. But yeah, this is one of the creepier scenes. I got it on my list. Sheriff Garris's death makes the list. Protecting his daughter. He actually is one of the rare people. He had hid from Jason. Jason couldn't find him. He's hiding behind a bush. Jason hears Megan. He goes after Megan, and the dad reveals himself and hits Jason over the head with a rock a few times before Jason just folds him over backwards, killing this great character. Also showing how strong Jason is. A lot of head squishing in Friday the 13th Part 6. Then at the very end of it, just knowing that Jason is still alive at the bottom of the lake, the eye opening and into the rock music, it's a great scene. It really is. I love it. Let's see. Moving on, almost through. Now we're into Part 7. Jason versus Tina. When Tina brings Jason back, the scene of him walking out of the lake and you getting to see the skeleton and the spine, that is one of the cooler scenes in the movie. The look of Jason in this movie is what everybody always talks about, but him actually coming out of the lake after she has passed out from seeing a monster come up is an awesome scene. Moving on, almost at the end, guys. I do have one more video clip, so you probably can't see it from this still shot I have right here. All right. But Eddie, the guy who spits is it Eddie or David? I can't remember. They all run together. Eddie's the mummy guy, I think, but this is like David. Maybe that's his name. He walks in to get something out of the fridge and lightning strikes and you see him, which in this picture you're looking at will be the left-hand corner. Jason is still hiding in the darkness, even though he's all powerful, even though at this point it's just a monster walking around. He's still hiding in the shadows to sneak up on these people. Let me see if I was able to get this footage. Yes, the lightning reveals Jason. Here we go. There he is, in the corner. So I'll play it one more time. The corner. Overall, not the best Jason movie. The characters are lacking. The story's even more lacking. You got to wonder if Tina's got telekinetic powers. Why can't she just make his head explode? But, you know, who am I? I've never made a movie. You've also got one of the coolest deaths in this movie. I remember going to rent Friday the 13th Part 7. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw Part 6 in theaters. But I remember going to rent Part 7, and I cannot wait to see Tommy Jarvis again. I cannot wait to see because Jason was still alive in the lake. What are they going to do next? And then it's this whole movie, okay? And I remember eating pizza, watching this movie, going, what the heck? And then it having some kind of cool kills and her having powers, but it's not a very good movie. And I really don't like it. Blake, I agree with Blake. Part 7 does suck. Michael says Jason's look is the only thing I like about Friday the 13th Part 7. Same thing Jamie said. But the sleeping bag kill is one to remember because pretty sweet. All right. We're almost done, guys. The reveal of Jason's face when he's killing whatever the gay guy from hey, speaking of gay, I recently read, and I'm assuming I didn't know this before, but Mark, the guy in the wheelchair from Part 2, died of AIDS. So that's kind of crazy. But anyway, the reveal of Jason, her ripping his mask off and us seeing his face. And if you want to, Blake will love that. I coughed on air. If you want to, you can look. There's pictures online. Go to Google Friday 13th Part 7, Jason's face. And somebody has like a chart that shows that they have accounted for every one of Jason's injuries throughout the franchise, and they have it, poking there. I love the chain still around his neck. He sort of looks like what Richard Mull looked like in House in this movie. He's got that look to him. But yeah. All right. Nick Push says, did Jason get AIDS from the blood splash, the bag splash? He probably could have. That's a good question. That's a real good question. Mitch says, sorry, but no. My Chunky Jordy says, sorry, but I love Part 7. I've also never seen a cut version of Friday 13th Part 5 in England, but my brother got copies. You guys over in England, y'all need to watch some John McBride movies. Me and Blake may break those out in October. Jim Bob says, yeah, but he got Magic AIDS. Magic Johnson AIDS where he's still alive. All right. So I think this is my last one, guys. Nope. I've got one more after this. It's the resurrection of Jason at the beginning of Part 8. Part 8, it's tough to find some stuff in here, but the resurrection of Jason, and hold on, I think I may have made a mistake. It'll be okay. But the boat, the anchor catches the wire that they laid right across his body. He gets electrocuted. Now they've established in Part 6 and Part 6 and Part 8 that electricity will bring him back. He gets on the boat. He's all slimy Jason in this movie. Yeah, and he comes back. I thought it was a really cool scene because they're like, hey, if you can just electrocute him like the dude in like Bennett in Commando, he gets all juiced up. Nick Push says, let's convince Ronnie to keep streaming till work is over. Come on, let's go. Ain't happening. Thanks to Part 6 and 8, it's been established that Jason needs batteries. My Chunky Jordy says my brother got copies, so they weren't cut. Y'all were in the back alleyway with Darren buying all this stuff. Jason takes a boat. I wanted to like it, but mostly I skipped that one. Getting fried just made Bennett stronger. I know. Here we go. And the last moment, number 50, or either 49, because I think I had Jason in Times Square as my number 50. But the last moment I have on this slideshow, they're all escaping the cruise ship. And somebody looks up, and Jason is standing up at the top of the cruise ship, watching them get into the boat and the lifeboat and rowing away. I thought that was a creepy shot, and I thought that maybe the best shot in the movie. to be completely honest with you, as far as just true horror goes, because they've been looking for him the whole movie, and boom, there he is. He reveals himself as they are escaping. So, and that's it, guys. That does it. That's top 50 moments from right now. I could find another 50 if I wanted to, but the top 50 moments from the Paramount 8, the Friday the 13th franchise. That's as far as I wanted to go. I mean, out of the other movies, I could have definitely added the scene at the beginning of the remake where Jason gets a running start and is about to hit the girl with the machete, and it goes to the cold opening Friday the 13th. That was a cool scene. In the chat, is there anything I left out from the Paramount 8 that you would have put in? I mean, I almost put in part 7 where she makes the porch collapse onto Jason. I thought that was pretty cool, but I think you have to see a video of that. And like I said, I left out the Times Square slide because I really did my thing this morning. So I guess I left it off. Jason in Times Square moment, but it's a long time coming. 50 worst moments. Nick was probably in a board meeting because he makes $200,000-$300,000 a year. I'm actually thinking about doing a WTF moments from Jason if I can get it done. Done a lot of streaming this week already. So there's a good possibility. Well, I don't want to do that because Bud is going to go live tonight. There's a good possibility I could work out a 50 worst moments and do it before the day's over with. If anybody's interested in that, I do have some free time right now. So, but I'm not promising that. Me and Blake will be back. Let me see if I'm missing anything. I left out Crispin Glover's dance. Not really, because let's face it, Mitch, everybody puts that on their list. It's a good moment, but I wanted to try. And a lot of the stuff I put on my list, people have mentioned 1,000 times, but I wanted to try to be like pretty different or kind of different about it with some of the things I put. But yeah, that's a good scene. It's Showtime moment from part 5 when the waitress gets Michael Myers. Every time someone takes a crap would be a worse moment. I'm thinking more like stupid. Like, why did they do this? For example, and if I do this, I'm still going to put it on the list. But the ugly girl from part 7 who sees that she's lost David or whatever his name is already to her friend, but yet she goes and gets dressed up and starts looking for him out in the woods, even though he's in the bedroom. Okay. So they left his dance in the movie because sex sells. All right. So I've been doing this for over an hour and a half, guys. Those are my top moments right now from Friday the 13th. Thank you to all the people on Rumble, YouTube. I'm not sure if we had any on X today, but if we did, thank you. When McCullough says it's all split up when they reached the dock in part 8, that's another moment of don't make any sense, or how they came right into the crack houses of New York. Anyway, you guys have a great day. We're a couple of days away from Friday the 13th. Love you, Blake. See you guys later.